My name is Samuel Bennett, and I come from a small close-knit town in the American Midwest, where my family has deep Christian roots. Raised in a devout household, I grew up with the teachings of Jesus, and Sunday services were a cherished family tradition. My parents instilled in me a strong faith foundation, reading from the Bible each evening and teaching us the importance of living a life aligned with God's will. Though my family wasn't wealthy, we were rich in love and faith. My father worked as a pastor, dedicating his life to serving our community, while my mother led the church choir. They were the embodiment of Christian values, always showing compassion and humility, and their faith inspired me and my siblings to seek a similar path. From an early age, I was taught to seek God in every aspect of life, trusting in His guidance. Despite my upbringing, however, I strayed as I grew older, becoming fascinated with worldly pursuits that seemed more thrilling than my Christian walk. As I entered adulthood, I began to question my faith and started drifting away from the values I'd been taught. The allure of independence and the pressures of fitting in with my peers led me down a path of temptation and doubt. I knew that something was missing, but I ignored the gentle call of God in my life, convincing myself that my faith was something I could return to someday. But everything changed one fateful evening in my late 20s when a near-death experience shook me to the core. It was during a routine drive back home that my car was struck by a speeding truck. In an instant, my life flashed before my eyes. The next thing I knew, I found myself in a dark, unfamiliar place. It was a realm of shadows and agonizing cries, a place that I would later realize was hell. Here, I witnessed torments that words cannot fully convey, a darkness that was far beyond anything I could have imagined. Among the chilling encounters I faced were beings of immense power and malevolence, the 7 princes of hell. These figures were not myths or mere symbols. They were tangible forces, each embodying a vice that ensnared countless souls. This was a place where choices led to irrevocable consequences, and the suffering was a reflection of the sins that had been embraced in life. As I looked upon these princes and the damned souls they ruled over, I realized the weight of my actions and choices. Each prince symbolized a sin that held power over the souls here, serving as a dark reminder of the temptations that can lead us away from salvation. I was given a profound warning and knew that I was being shown this vision for a reason. I had to return to my faith and, more importantly, share this testimony with others so they might avoid such a fate. In the shadowy depths of hell, Leviathan, the prince of envy, stands as a twisted embodiment of one of humanity's most destructive sins. Unlike other princes, Leviathan doesn't immediately strike with fiery torment. Instead, he poisons the minds of souls with bitterness and jealousy, rekindling the envy that festered within them on earth. Cloaked in scales darker than the abyss, his serpent-like form coils through the endless pits of hell, whispering reminders of the desires and comparisons that consumed these souls in life. In his presence, the damned experience a deep, burning ache, a hunger for what they can never possess, echoing the cravings they once pursued. Those who find themselves under Leviathan's grip are tormented by visions of everything they once coveted but could never achieve, while others live in eternal anguish, painfully aware of the emptiness of these pursuits. This agony surpasses physical pain, gnawing at their very essence. Leviathan, Prince of Envy. Leviathan's domain is a constant reminder of unfulfilled desires and bitter comparisons. He has the power to manipulate memories, forcing souls to relive moments of jealousy and rivalry, enhancing the regret they feel over their life's choices. They recall every instance where they undermined others, their envious thoughts resurfacing with new clarity, now painfully aware of how these thoughts corroded their own spirits. As the Prince of Envy, Leviathan also distorts souls' perceptions, making them believe that they are surrounded by those who have what they lack, even in death. This illusion is a form of punishment in itself, as they feel an intensified yearning and hatred toward others. Unlike the fleeting envy experienced on earth, this feeling is ceaseless, fueling the torments inflicted by Leviathan. He thrives on their suffering, feeding off the bitterness and resentment that grow within these souls. In life, these individuals let envy dominate their actions, leading them to sabotage relationships, undermine others, and neglect gratitude for what they already had. Now, in Leviathan's lair, their envy has come full circle, trapping them in a never-ending cycle of want and frustration. Leviathan's form is monstrous yet alluring, a deceptive beauty that belies his malevolent nature. His serpentine body symbolizes the cunning and deceitful ways in which envy manifests, winding its way into the lives of the living subtly and insidiously. He appears to souls as a friend or a confidant, only to reveal his true intentions after they are ensnared, unable to escape the webs of jealousy and discontent. Those who failed to recognize the dangers of envy in life are particularly vulnerable in Leviathan's domain. They once allowed jealousy to drive a wedge between themselves and loved ones, prioritized their own desires over compassion, and fueled rivalries instead of seeking peace. Leviathan forces them to see how envy isolated them, stripping away true joy and connection, leaving only loneliness and despair. Leviathan's influence isn't limited to souls in hell. His mission also extends to the living, subtly inspiring feelings of inadequacy and dissatisfaction. He is a reminder of how envy, unchecked, can transform even the kindest heart into something unrecognizable, leading one down a path of bitterness and resentment. He serves as a dark lesson about the dangers of allowing comparison and discontent to consume one's spirit. In hell, Leviathan ensures that every soul under his rule is denied satisfaction, their desires eternally out of reach. His punishment is to heighten the very trait that brought them to this place, amplifying their envy until it defines them completely. Here, there is no relief, no hope of release, only the relentless torment of wanting and never having. Mammon, Prince of Greed. In the darkest depths of hell lies Mammon, the Prince of Greed, embodying one of humanity's most corrosive desires. Mammon's realm is filled with illusions of wealth and power, a mockery of the treasures that once captivated the greedy souls now bound to him. His form is opulent, draped in shimmering gold and jewels that seem to radiate a sickly allure, tempting yet hollow. Unlike earthly riches, these treasures turn to dust and ash when touched, symbolizing the futility of greed. In life, those who are now bound to Mammon were consumed by their insatiable hunger for wealth. They amassed fortunes, yet they never found satisfaction, always craving more at the expense of others. Under Mammon's rule, they are forever haunted by memories of their past avarice, each instance of exploitation or betrayal playing repeatedly, a reminder of how greed shaped their downfall. Mammon's dominion serves as a reflection of the empty pursuits these souls chased while alive. They are surrounded by endless halls of gold and precious gems, yet every attempt to grasp these riches ends in failure. The punishment is psychological, intensifying their need to possess while denying them the ability to do so. Their desire becomes torture, a reminder of the futile obsessions that once blinded them to genuine happiness and connection. The souls in Mammon's grasp are perpetually lured by visions of prosperity. He promises them unimaginable wealth, only to strip it away as they reach for it. This torment reinforces the hollowness of their past pursuits. Just as they sacrificed relationships, morality, and compassion in life, they now sacrifice their sanity in a never-ending cycle of wanting and losing. Mammon's appearance is paradoxically both grand and grotesque, with a towering, almost regal figure adorned in gold and jewels that glow ominously. Yet, up close, these riches reveal decay, a symbolism of how the allure of wealth becomes rot and corruption. His touch is cold, and his eyes reflect the empty greed that ruled his followers' hearts, a chilling reminder of the spiritual void they created for themselves. In Mammon's hell, souls find themselves unable to escape a mirage of endless wealth. This vision amplifies their regrets, as they realize that all their efforts to gain material wealth in life left them spiritually destitute. They are confronted by the people they betrayed for money, reliving each act of selfishness. These memories intensify their suffering, making them painfully aware of the cost of their greed. Mammon is relentless in his torment, intensifying his victims' desire for what they cannot have. They remember the fortunes they once possessed, the power they wielded, and the comfort they sacrificed for fleeting gains. In this desolate realm, they are trapped in a never-ending hunger for wealth that fuels their suffering, reinforcing the endless cycle of dissatisfaction and longing that define their lives. This eternal punishment extends beyond mere deprivation. Mammon manipulates each soul's regrets and unresolved ambitions, filling their minds with what-ifs and maybes. They see glimpses of the lives they could have lived, had they not let greed consume them, increasing their agony with the knowledge of lost opportunities for kindness, love, and peace. The souls under Mammon's rule are a stark reminder of the deceptive nature of greed. In life, they believed wealth would bring them happiness and freedom. Now, they are bound by those very desires, their greed imprisoning them in an endless cycle of unfulfilled needs and impossible dreams. They learn too late that the pursuit of material wealth at the expense of all else leads not to freedom but to slavery. Mammon's influence even reaches the living, subtly encouraging those who idolize wealth and status to make greed-driven choices. He revels in each person's compromise of their values for material gain, knowing it leads them closer to his domain. His is the cruelest form of punishment, a life and afterlife driven by hollow ambition, forever unsatisfied and unfulfilling. For Mammon, wealth is not just a possession but a form of control. He teaches that greed chains people to an endless pursuit, blinding them to the joys of life. His rule serves as a cautionary tale, showing how the relentless pursuit of wealth can lead to emptiness, depriving people of meaningful connections and moral integrity. As souls continue to succumb to his illusions, Mammon's laughter fills the darkness. To him, their suffering is just a reflection of the lives they led. They see themselves as victims, yet he sees them as willing participants in their own downfall, choosing greed over compassion, pride over humility, and wealth over love. Through their punishment, these souls are forced to confront the choices that bound them to Mammon's realm. They realize that the riches they pursued did not make them powerful. Instead, they left them vulnerable to spiritual emptiness. Mammon shows them how greed led them to betray others, severing their ties to humanity and compassion. For those who still live, Mammon's tale is a warning. The pursuit of wealth, while not inherently wrong, becomes dangerous when it eclipses one's humanity and empathy. Mammon reminds the living that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the strength of character, kindness, and connection, values that endure beyond the grave. Azazel, Prince of Wrath. Azazel, known as the Prince of Wrath, rules over the realm of anger and vengeance in the depths of hell, embodying a spirit of relentless fury and destruction. His appearance is intimidating, marked by an eternal fire that surrounds him, signifying his nature as a being who fuels rage and violence. To those bound in his domain, Azazel represents the consequence of giving in to wrath, the relentless anger that blinds reason and compassion. He stands as a symbol of unrestrained fury, devoid of empathy, and quick to condemn others without forgiveness. Those who find themselves under Azazel's influence were often driven by wrathful emotions during their lives, allowing anger to consume them. They were quick to seek revenge, holding on to grudges and resentments, refusing to forgive. Their fury hurt not only others but also corroded their own souls. Now in Azazel's realm, these souls face their unending wrath reflected back at them, realizing how much harm their anger inflicted on themselves and those around them. Azazel's domain is filled with chaotic sounds of wails and roars, with tortured souls endlessly reliving the moments of rage that brought them there. Here, Azazel twists each soul's anger into a form of self-inflicted punishment, trapping them in memories of past resentments and fueling an everlasting cycle of bitterness. Each moment of unresolved anger is magnified, and the souls relive it without hope of relief, as if they're forever imprisoned by their fury. In Azazel's hellish kingdom, rage is a double-edged sword, eternally consuming those who wielded it in life. The souls feel their anger turned inward, a burning, ceaseless wrath that drives them mad. They suffer as they realize how their anger blinded them to peace, joy, and compassion. This place serves as a reminder of the dangers of letting wrath control one's actions, and of the way unchecked anger consumes everything in its path, including the soul itself. Azazel himself is a figure who revels in violence and chaos. He whispers to souls, stirring up memories of old grudges and igniting fresh anger. To Azazel, wrath is both a weapon and a form of control, a way to turn souls against each other and against themselves. He feeds on discord and strife, finding satisfaction in watching his victims suffer through the very emotions they clung to in life. The souls bound to Azazel experience isolation, trapped by the anger they once held against others. Many of them are haunted by visions of those they wronged or failed to forgive. These visions are vivid, forcing each soul to confront the people and situations that they let anger dominate. In Azazel's domain, there is no resolution, only an endless replaying of the emotions they failed to resolve, increasing their torment. Azazel's form shifts and grows as he absorbs the anger of those around him, his appearance becoming a monstrous reflection of rage itself. To look upon him is to see the darkness of wrath in its purest form, a terrifying sight that fills the soul with dread. His eyes blaze with fury, a gaze that pierces through any pretense, showing each soul the truth of their anger and how it led them to this place of suffering. In his presence, souls are reminded of the times they chose revenge over reconciliation, hatred over peace. Azazel shows them the consequences of their actions, making them relive each moment of rage as though it were happening for the first time. Each scream, each hateful word, each act of violence is replayed, and the souls are powerless to escape the weight of their wrathful deeds. One of Azazel's most punishing tactics is to isolate each soul in a realm of personal resentment, where they cannot see beyond their anger. He strips them of empathy, leaving them trapped in a narrow, self-centered existence. In life, their wrath blinded them to the suffering of others. In hell, it blinds them to the possibility of peace or forgiveness. This endless anger becomes their cage, preventing any hope of release. Those in Azazel's realm begin to see the way their anger left scars on the people they loved, and they are forced to confront how their wrath impacted others. Azazel forces them to feel the pain they caused, to see the emptiness their anger left behind. The souls must witness the harm they inflicted in life, realizing that each act of vengeance only deepened their own suffering and led them to this ultimate fate. The torment of Azazel's realm serves as a cautionary tale about the danger of living with a wrathful heart. Anger is a natural human emotion, but when it goes unchecked and unresolved, it becomes a destructive force, separating people from each other and from God. Azazel's domain is a reminder of the importance of forgiveness, of letting go of anger before it hardens the heart beyond repair. Those who find themselves in Azazel's realm are constantly reminded of how their anger isolated them from love and compassion. They feel the intense loneliness of a life lived in anger, realizing too late that wrath pushed away the very people who could have helped them find peace. Azazel teaches that anger may feel powerful, but it ultimately leaves one vulnerable, stripped of connections and support. The souls in Azazel's domain serve as a stark reminder to the living that wrath, if unchecked, can destroy the spirit. As the souls endure their punishment, they realize that their wrath not only harmed others but also consumed them, leaving them empty and bitter. Belfagor, known as the Prince of Sloth and the Lord of Fire, embodies the lethargy and spiritual apathy that leads souls into a dangerous state of indifference. Unlike other demon princes who actively tempt with visible desires, Belfagor's influence is more insidious, luring people into complacency, stagnation, and neglect of both their spiritual and personal responsibilities. His title as the Lord of Fire contrasts sharply with the slow, passive destruction he causes, as his realm burns away the ambition and vitality of those who fall under his influence. In Belfagor's domain, souls are trapped in an eternal state of sloth, surrounded by a dull, hazy glow of fire that symbolizes their lost potential. These fires do not burn fiercely but instead smolder continuously, representing how Sloth extinguishes passion and purpose over time. This dim glow serves as a reminder of the life that each soul wasted, having surrendered their spirit to laziness, avoiding effort, and ignoring growth. Belfagor's nature as the Prince of Sloth lies in his ability to convince people that life is too hard to change, filling them with doubts, fears, and excuses. Under his influence, ambition wanes, and the drive to improve oneself or make a difference fades. This manipulation may seem harmless at first, but over time, it chains souls in a perpetual state of laziness, causing them to miss opportunities for both personal and spiritual development. To the souls in his realm, Belfagor appears as a figure who offers comfort, tempting them with the illusion that doing nothing is better than risking failure or discomfort. He speaks to their fears of hardship and failure, convincing them that they are better off embracing mediocrity rather than striving for excellence. Souls who succumb to this perspective feel a false sense of peace in their lack of effort, not realizing that this mindset slowly drains them of purpose and hope. Belfagor's domain reveals the consequences of abandoning ambition and choosing a life of passive existence. The souls in his realm experience a deep sense of regret, a gnawing realization that they wasted the gifts and opportunities they were given. This feeling of loss is magnified by the endless, dull flames around them, symbolizing their unfulfilled potential and the actions they never took. They are forced to confront what they could have been, haunted by the knowledge that they could have made more of their lives. The Lord of Fire's rule over Sloth is particularly symbolic. He represents the fiery destruction that apathy and laziness bring. While many think of fire as a force of energy, in Belfagor's case, it represents a consuming lack of movement and progress. The fires in his realm consume not with heat, but with slow, creeping despair that smothers any trace of ambition, leaving only ashes of what could have been. This form of punishment emphasizes that idleness is a silent destroyer of dreams and potential. The souls in Belfagor's realm experience isolation, a reminder that sloth often disconnects people from each other. Their unwillingness to reach out, to engage, and to take action has led them to a lonely existence, devoid of meaningful connections. Belfagor's presence magnifies this solitude, showing each soul how they withdrew from relationships and neglected others out of laziness. The endless, low-burning flames surrounding them emphasize the emptiness of a life devoid of effort, passion, or commitment. Belfagor's influence extends to earthly life as well, affecting those who feel tempted to embrace a passive approach to life. His whispering voice tells people to delay their goals, ignore their responsibilities, and give up when faced with challenges. This message is subtle, often disguised as a rationalization or justification, making it difficult to recognize as dangerous. Yet, it leads individuals away from their purpose and deprives them of the satisfaction that comes from growth, achievement, and connection. The punishment Belfagor inflicts is not one of physical torment but of eternal regret and self-awareness. Souls in his realm are granted the clarity to see what they could have accomplished but chose not to. They are haunted by memories of the times they avoided responsibility, ignored their purpose, or allowed fear to dictate their choices. This eternal self-reflection is a form of torture, as they are forced to confront the emptiness of a life lived without purpose or passion. In Belfagor's domain, sloth becomes a lesson on the importance of embracing life fully. Those who witness this realm learn that even small efforts, small connections, and moments of growth are valuable. Belfagor's punishment reveals that idleness and apathy lead to a life of unfulfillment, showing that the true path to contentment lies in taking action, pursuing goals, and engaging in meaningful relationships. This warning echoes beyond his realm, serving as a reminder of the dangers of allowing oneself to be overtaken by sloth. Asmodeus, the Prince of Lust, represents one of the most dangerous and captivating sins in the demonic hierarchy. Known for his alluring nature, Asmodeus embodies an intense and consuming desire that leads individuals astray, enticing them into actions that compromise their integrity, morals, and, ultimately, their souls. His influence, unlike that of other demons, is subtler yet deeply rooted, feeding on human vulnerability and desires for intimacy, love, and validation, all of which he manipulates to fuel unrestrained lust. Asmodeus's essence is tied to a distorted form of love, one that is self-centered and devoid of true emotional connection. Rather than nurturing relationships, his influence drives people toward fleeting physical gratification, reducing profound human connections to temporary indulgences. This detachment from genuine affection undercuts the importance of compassion, empathy, and commitment in relationships, leaving individuals hollow and isolated after they succumb to lust's empty promises. In appearance, Asmodeus is often depicted as irresistibly attractive, adorned with qualities designed to captivate and entrap. His form shifts to match the desires of those he seeks to influence, embodying their fantasies and amplifying their temptations. This shape-shifting ability serves his purpose well, allowing him to manipulate individuals by presenting himself as the ultimate object of their desires, which only strengthens his hold on them, blinding them to his true intentions. The allure of Asmodeus goes beyond mere physical attraction. He taps into emotional vulnerabilities, encouraging individuals to seek comfort and solace in superficial, temporary connections. People under his sway are often left with feelings of shame, guilt, and unfulfillment, as the relationships he fosters lack true substance. His influence not only ruins romantic relationships but also disrupts family bonds, friendships, and communities, spreading discontent and distrust as people prioritize selfish desires. Asmodeus thrives in environments where boundaries are blurred, where the concept of self-control becomes secondary to immediate satisfaction. He encourages a mindset where following one's passions is taken to extremes, resulting in impulsive and reckless behavior. This impulsiveness leaves individuals vulnerable to deeper spiritual degradation, as they find it increasingly difficult to resist temptation, leading them down a path of habitual sin that becomes harder to break. In Asmodeus's realm, souls suffer from the consequences of their unchecked desires. They are tormented by intense feelings of longing that can never be fulfilled, a punishment symbolizing the insatiable nature of lust. This realm is one of constant unrest, as souls are bound by their cravings, but unable to find the satisfaction they once sought. Their pain reflects the emptiness of lust-driven actions, showing that pursuit of pleasure without purpose leads only to endless despair. Asmodeus's power is further magnified by the normalization of lust in human culture. Through media, entertainment, and societal trends, he subtly influences how people perceive love, intimacy, and attraction, making lust appear as a harmless indulgence rather than a path to destruction. This normalization leads individuals to dismiss the long-term effects of such actions, drawing them deeper into a mindset where lustful pursuits become an accepted part of life. People under Asmodeus's influence are often unable to see the damage they inflict upon themselves and others. Relationships become strained, personal values are compromised, and spiritual emptiness takes hold. This lack of self-awareness makes it challenging for individuals to recognize their descent into vice, as they justify their actions and ignore the gradual erosion of their moral and spiritual foundations, ultimately leading to their downfall. Asmodeus represents the deception that lust is fulfilling and without consequence. His victims believe that their desires, if fulfilled, will bring them happiness, but instead, they are left with regret and an insatiable craving for more. This endless cycle illustrates the true nature of lust as a trap that ensnares individuals in a pursuit of gratification that only deepens their suffering, pulling them further from peace and salvation. The message of Asmodeus's influence is clear. Unchecked lust destroys not only relationships but also the soul. His realm serves as a warning of the consequences of yielding to superficial desires, encouraging people to reflect on their choices and seek meaningful connections grounded in respect and love. Through understanding the deceptive power of lust, one can resist the allure of Asmodeus and pursue a life that honors true, lasting connections. Beelzebub, known as the Prince of Lies, holds a powerful and insidious role within the realms of darkness. His influence stems not from brute force but from the art of deception, skillfully manipulating truth to ensnare souls. Unlike other demonic princes who represent overtly destructive vices, Beelzebub thrives in subtleties and half-truths. This demon doesn't simply encourage outright lies. He thrives on twisting the truth, altering perceptions, and making falsehoods appear as plausible realities. Historically depicted as the Lord of the Flies, Beelzebub's title signifies the decay and corruption associated with his work. Lies and deceit are his tools for spiritual decay, subtly eroding trust and understanding between individuals. Beelzebub plants seeds of doubt, exaggeration, and suspicion in human minds, leading people to question not only their beliefs but also their values, relationships, and even their own self-worth. This doubt grows, creating internal and external discord, isolating individuals from the truth and from one another. One of Beelzebub's most effective strategies is fostering self-deception. He persuades individuals to believe their own false narratives, convincing them that their actions are justified, or even good, despite evidence to the contrary. Self-deception can lead people into rationalizing harmful behaviors or resisting positive change. Under Beelzebub's influence, individuals often fail to recognize the truth of their flaws, hiding behind facades or excuses that further entangle them in lies. In addition, Beelzebub exploits modern communication, fueling misinformation and encouraging misleading narratives. This demon has adapted to the modern world, finding fertile ground in digital media, where half-truths and rumors can quickly be amplified. By spreading misinformation, Beelzebub divides communities, stokes conflicts, and clouds people's understanding of reality. The digital age has, in many ways, provided Beelzebub with an unprecedented tool for spreading deception on a massive scale. Beyond manipulating information, Beelzebub corrupts perception itself. He can make evil seem attractive and good appear as restrictive or outdated. Through this distortion, he deceives people into abandoning virtues, luring them towards moral relativism where values become fluid and subjective. Beelzebub's lies can make a selfish act seem charitable or frame kindness as weakness, distorting moral clarity and leading individuals down a path of confusion and spiritual erosion. The Prince of Lies also specializes in creating doubt and skepticism around faith. By casting suspicion on religious beliefs and spiritual truths, Beelzebub weakens the bond between individuals and their faith. Through seemingly logical arguments and selective interpretations, he manipulates people into questioning fundamental truths. His influence leads many to believe that divine teachings are myths or that spiritual practices are irrelevant, effectively isolating them from a life of faith. Beelzebub's lies are often difficult to detect because they are rarely blatant. His approach involves subtlety, making slight alterations to reality that grow over time. By mixing truth with deception, he ensures that his influence feels familiar, leading individuals to trust him without recognizing his hand in their thinking. The greatest danger lies in his ability to convince people that they are following truth when, in fact, they are on a path to ruin. Even love and trust, which are supposed to be the foundation of human relationships, are not immune to Beelzebub's influence. He encourages jealousy, suspicion, and paranoia between people, straining even the strongest bonds. Under his influence, misunderstandings turn into deep-seated resentment, and minor grievances escalate into full-blown conflicts. This erosion of trust serves his purpose, as people become more isolated, distrusting others and, eventually, themselves. Beelzebub's presence is pervasive in situations where lies flourish and truth is suppressed. Corruption, dishonesty, and betrayal are marks of his handiwork. In these environments, people become so accustomed to deception that they no longer recognize the value of honesty. Institutions and systems shaped by dishonesty become breeding grounds for further deception, amplifying his power and making it more challenging for individuals to escape his influence. In his realm, Beelzebub torments souls with constant deception, mirroring their earthly lives filled with lies. Souls in his grasp are trapped in illusions, seeing false realities and reliving their deceptions. They experience a profound sense of regret for having abandoned truth and honesty, realizing too late that their lies isolated them from love, peace, and fulfillment. Their punishment is an endless cycle of mistrust, deception, and disillusionment. The Bible warns against the dangers of deception, and Beelzebub epitomizes this warning. In John 8 verse 44, it says, "When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies." This scripture reflects Beelzebub's nature and his intent to mislead humanity away from God's truth. By spreading lies, he creates spiritual blindness, making it difficult for people to recognize and follow the path of righteousness. For those under his influence, breaking free requires a commitment to truth and self-awareness. Recognizing the lies we tell ourselves and others is the first step toward spiritual clarity. This battle against deceit is both internal and external, requiring individuals to examine their actions, words, and thoughts, aligning them with honesty and integrity. Beelzebub's influence teaches a powerful lesson about the value of truth. It reminds us of the importance of transparency, humility, and self-reflection. Rejecting lies and embracing truth builds resilience against his temptations, strengthening our moral compass and aligning us closer to spiritual truths. By living a life of honesty and integrity, one can resist Beelzebub's influence and avoid the trap of deception that leads so many astray. Lucifer, known as the light-bearer in his former glory, was once among the most radiant and exalted beings in heaven. As the chief of the angelic hierarchy, his beauty, intelligence, and power were unparalleled. But pride began to take root in his heart, leading him to view himself as not just an emissary of God, but as one equal or even superior. This pride laid the foundation for his eventual rebellion, transforming the once majestic being into the epitome of pride and defiance against divine will. As the prince of pride, Lucifer's influence is insidious and pervasive, touching every part of human life. Unlike envy, greed, or wrath, pride can often masquerade as strength, self-confidence, or ambition. Lucifer's mastery lies in twisting these qualities, encouraging individuals to place themselves above others, and, in the most destructive cases, above God. Through pride, Lucifer drives people to seek validation from their achievements, beauty, status, and control, leading them away from humility and alignment with divine grace. One of Lucifer's most effective tactics is to cultivate self-importance, blinding individuals to their need for spiritual growth and humility. He tempts individuals to view their accomplishments as proof of their superiority, leading them to compare themselves with others continually. This pride fosters division, envy, and judgment, as people perceive others not as equals but as competitors or threats to their self-image. In a pride-filled heart, there is little room for empathy or compassion. Furthermore, Lucifer's pride is deeply rooted in independence from God, a rebellion he seeks to replicate in others. He entices people to believe they are self-sufficient, that they do not need guidance, and that their achievements are solely a result of their effort. In essence, pride becomes a rejection of divine grace, as people begin to view themselves as the ultimate source of wisdom, authority, and success. Lucifer convinces them that dependence on God is weakness, cultivating a toxic self-reliance that alienates them from spiritual wisdom. In addition, Lucifer fuels the need for recognition and adulation, often found in positions of power, wealth, and fame. He manipulates desires for acknowledgement, convincing individuals that their worth is measured by others' approval. This quest for external validation becomes consuming, leading people to forsake values and relationships for the pursuit of their image. It is in these moments that pride reaches its peak, as individuals become enslaved to maintaining their status and reputation, losing sight of their true purpose and identity. Lucifer's prideful influence extends beyond individuals, infiltrating societies, organizations, and nations. His deception promotes a culture of superiority and division, encouraging people to see themselves as separate or better based on race, nationality, religion, or class. Pride fuels wars, discrimination, and a disregard for others' humanity. By planting the seeds of division and superiority, Lucifer weakens the unity and harmony intended by divine design, creating discord that serves his purpose of tearing humanity apart. Scriptures reveal that pride goes before destruction, a warning that Lucifer has expertly twisted to keep people from recognizing their peril. In Proverbs 16 verse 18, it says, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." Lucifer embodies this principle, using it as a blueprint to lead others into self-destruction. His manipulation of pride blinds people to their flaws, making them resistant to correction or self-reflection. Over time, this pride isolates them, eroding relationships and leading to their spiritual downfall. In his deceit, Lucifer masquerades pride as self-respect or ambition, leading people to ignore humility's value. He convinces people that humility is weakness, that it strips them of their worth, and that only pride offers strength and recognition. By encouraging this mindset, Lucifer turns people away from virtues like patience, forgiveness, and gentleness. Instead, they become driven by self-interest, viewing life as a competition rather than a journey of mutual support and growth. Pride also blinds people to the need for repentance, a crucial step in spiritual growth. Lucifer manipulates people into believing they are always justified, making it difficult for them to acknowledge their faults. This unwillingness to repent closes them off from divine grace, trapping them in a cycle of self-righteousness. By rejecting repentance, people remain chained to their flaws, unable to experience the transformative power of forgiveness and growth. In fostering pride, Lucifer also builds a barrier between individuals and God. When people are prideful, they lose the ability to see God's sovereignty and wisdom, believing instead that they know best. This mindset distances them from divine guidance and makes them more susceptible to Lucifer's influence. They begin to prioritize their desires over God's will, which ultimately leads them down a path of spiritual destruction, fulfilling Lucifer's goal of separation from the divine. Pride can also erode relationships, as it makes individuals less empathetic and understanding. Lucifer capitalizes on pride to create a barrier between people, making it difficult for them to relate, forgive, or cooperate. In marriages, friendships, and families, pride can be a silent destroyer, leading to conflict and resentment. As people become more self-centered, they fail to see others' perspectives, leading to misunderstandings and broken connections that weaken communal and familial bonds. Lucifer's own fall serves as a testament to the destructive power of pride. His rebellion against God was rooted in his desire for supremacy, leading him to forsake his rightful place in heaven. This act of defiance against divine authority resulted in his expulsion, casting him into the depths of hell. Lucifer's story serves as a reminder that pride, unchecked, leads not to greatness but to downfall. It is a lesson in the dangers of self-exaltation and the consequences of opposing divine order. Lucifer also preys on individuals who aspire to greatness, manipulating their ambitions and encouraging a sense of entitlement. He entices people to think they deserve more than others, that they are destined for something exceptional. While ambition in itself is not wrong, Lucifer twists it into arrogance, leading people to disregard others and focus solely on personal gain. This selfish drive distances them from humility, creating a path toward isolation and discontent. Another aspect of Lucifer's manipulation of pride is the illusion of perfection. He convinces people that they must be flawless, leading them to hide their weaknesses and mistakes. This perfectionism creates a barrier to authenticity, as individuals fear vulnerability and reject their true selves. Lucifer uses this facade to trap people in constant anxiety, as they strive to maintain an unattainable image. The fear of imperfection becomes a prison, preventing them from experiencing genuine connections and personal growth. Lucifer's influence on pride has also impacted spiritual practices, as he encourages people to approach faith with self-righteousness rather than humility. In religion, pride manifests as a judgmental attitude, leading individuals to view others as morally inferior. This self-righteousness alienates people from the true essence of faith, as they focus on their own perceived superiority rather than seeking a relationship with the divine. By manipulating religious pride, Lucifer corrupts spiritual communities, breeding division and exclusion. A critical lesson in Lucifer's pride is the false sense of control it provides. He encourages people to believe they can control every aspect of their lives, fostering a fear of surrender. This resistance to letting go becomes a barrier to spiritual growth, as individuals cling to their plans and desires. Lucifer's influence makes surrender seem weak, leading people to live in constant tension and anxiety. True spiritual peace requires humility, a truth Lucifer actively hides to keep people bound to their pride. The world of academia and knowledge is another realm where Lucifer sows pride. He convinces intellectuals and scholars that their wisdom surpasses others, leading them to view themselves as the sole arbiters of truth. This prideful arrogance limits their openness to new ideas or alternative perspectives. As they prioritize their intellect over humility, they become increasingly detached from wisdom, focusing solely on personal accolades and achievements. Lucifer's final strategy with pride is to prevent people from understanding their true worth. He leads people to believe that they are valued solely by their accomplishments, status, or possessions, diverting them from recognizing their inherent worth as creations of the divine. This perception creates a void, as individuals feel compelled to prove their worth through external success, never finding true satisfaction. By ignoring their intrinsic value, people lose touch with their identity and spiritual purpose. In conclusion, Lucifer's role as the Prince of Pride is one of profound influence and subtlety. He exploits humanity's natural desires, using pride as a means to alienate individuals from humility, faith, and love. His manipulation of pride leads to spiritual blindness, preventing people from experiencing the true joy that comes from a life aligned with divine purpose. Lucifer's legacy of pride serves as a warning to all, reminding us of the power of humility and the dangers of self-exaltation. The 7 deadly sins are more than just moral shortcomings. They are gateways that can lead us into deeper forms of spiritual and personal ruin. Each sin, pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth, carries within it the seeds of destruction, capable of affecting our character, relationships, and connection to the divine. When left unchecked, these sins can dominate our lives, gradually distancing us from virtue and true fulfillment. Recognizing these sins is the first step towards understanding the powerful hold they can have on the soul. The danger of these sins lies in their subtlety. Often, pride and envy may be mistaken for confidence or ambition, while greed can masquerade as a desire for a secure future. This deception is precisely what makes them so dangerous. By appealing to our natural desires, these sins draw us in, making it easy to rationalize harmful actions or ignore the consequences. The 7 princes of hell, who represent each of these sins, capitalize on this vulnerability, encouraging indulgence until we become enslaved to impulses we might have initially dismissed. These sins, when given free rein, don't just damage our spiritual health, they also erode our relationships. Pride creates walls of arrogance and self-importance, separating us from others. Wrath and envy foster resentment and conflict, while greed turns relationships into transactions. In time, the sins not only weaken our bonds with family and friends, but also distort our ability to love unconditionally. Relationships built on trust and empathy are destroyed when these sins are allowed to dictate our actions. On a societal level, the 7 deadly sins contribute to widespread issues such as corruption, injustice, and violence. Greed fuels exploitation, and envy breeds resentment between communities. The cumulative effect of unchecked sin results in a fractured society, where selfish pursuits overshadow the common good. The impact is felt across generations, as children learn values that emphasize competition over compassion. Understanding the consequences of these sins can lead to greater awareness, inspiring individuals to pursue lives of virtue and service to others. Spiritually, the 7 deadly sins separate us from God. According to Scripture, they harden our hearts, making it difficult to recognize or respond to divine guidance. The Bible cautions against these sins repeatedly, as they obstruct our path to salvation. In Galatians 5 verses 19 to 21, Paul warns that those who indulge in such sinful natures will not inherit the kingdom of God. The saints and prophets have echoed this warning, urging humanity to turn away from sin and live according to God's will. To resist these sins, one must cultivate virtues that counterbalance their influence. Humility counters pride, generosity neutralizes greed, patience tempers wrath, and so on. Through prayer, self-reflection, and a commitment to grow spiritually, individuals can guard against the subtle pull of these sins. This path requires discipline and humility, as well as a willingness to seek guidance when needed. By nurturing virtues, we create a foundation of strength and resilience, enabling us to resist the temptations that the 7 deadly sins present. Ultimately, the warning against the 7 deadly sins is an invitation to live a life of purpose, virtue, and grace. By recognizing and confronting these sins within ourselves, we embark on a journey toward spiritual freedom and joy. The path may be challenging, but the reward is a life aligned with divine love and wisdom. Each person has the potential to overcome these sins, transforming weaknesses into strengths. In doing so, we honor not only our own lives but also the divine purpose for which we were created.